I know you did single family for some years. So what motivated you to pursue like multifamily and commercial to begin with?
Yeah, I think I've been doing this in the business 20 years. Obviously started on the single family space. I still do some single family flipping today because it's really the core of where everything started. But I think it was just taking the next step and the next jump to something bigger and better. Obviously, you mentioned my partner George, and it's funny, we've been partners for a long time. We've actually known each other since the seventh grade of middle school in Miami. So it's been a long time. So we've been in partnership basically 20 years. But it was taking that step to the next best thing where we could not only bring success to ourselves, but then others and help others get there. And I think it's important to know that the more people you help reach their goals, the quicker you'll achieve your goals. And that was really the mindset behind doing multifamily syndication, and the fact that when we just learned about it, how cool we thought it could be. So we kind of leveraged our single family list in the beginning to try to raise capital, and we can get down that because that's part of the interview questions. But it was really taking us to the next step. And honestly, once we started getting into the business, yeah, it did catapult us to level up in our business, right? Depreciation is fantastic. I haven't paid taxes in several years. Our income increased because of that. And not only did our income increase, but we were able to help other people do the same. I think one of our best victories was a property we bought in Augusta, Georgia. It was granted when the market was getting hot, but we had projected a 5-year turnaround time, and we were able to exit that project in 18 months and give everybody a 2x return in 18 months. When you hit a grand slam like that, right, you really just feel good about it, and your investors want to reinvest with you, and it's a good feeling, right? Today in today's market, you're not seeing as much of that because the market is tough and the interest rates are still high, and everyone's looking for a little bit more relief there. But it was really just leveling up our game. We always want to improve with everything that we're doing, and then single family, it's more transactional, right? It's when's the next wholesale deal? When's the next rehab
Hmm.
opportunity? When you're in the multifamily game, it's like, all right, if I could own not only just one or two houses, I can own 100 units in just one transaction, and how you can increase the income of that very quickly, right? Just by upping the rents $25 versus if you have two or three rentals, it's going to take you a lot longer to get there. So
Hmm.
we liked a lot of those principles and actually got educated through RE Mentor, actually. Congratulations, by the way. I know that's a huge move for you guys and for Tim. We're excited about that. And hopefully you guys can revive that a little bit. I think Ultimate Partnering is going to be awesome. We'll be there. But yeah, got educated through RE Mentor and started buying apartments, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's like the joke that I say it all the time, but like I started in single family too, and the day you stop doing deals, you stop making money, right? If you don't have wholesale or flips or whatever, you don't have your pipeline ready to go, and you close on a deal, where's your next paycheck coming from? So it can be kind of, I know there's a few people from the introductions who are like, hey, I'm coming from single family. They probably feel a lot of that too, and it is a tougher time to get into multifamily, but the opportunity is still there, right? All the principles they still apply, right? Speaking of RE Mentor, aside from RE Mentor, how did you guys, it sounds like obviously you guys started when you were pretty young. How did you acquire the necessary skills and knowledge? Did you have a mentor or coach, or was RE Mentor like the only real like program or coach that you guys had with Dave?
Yeah, I'll take it from the beginning, man. Look, education is key, right? You can't go out there and just try to do this yourself. Nowadays, you could probably just watch YouTube videos and learn this stuff. Like I know they're being
Right?
successful doing that, or even TikTok. I mean, crazy. When we started off in single family, right? We got mentored by Ron LeGrand. Went to his, and he's the GOAT. He's old school, right? Came back, applied what we learned, and in 2 weeks we made $26,000. We're like, holy cow, this worked. So we just did the same thing over and over again. So when we wanted to get into multifamily, we said, look, this is way out of our league. It's way different from single family. It's not ARV times 70% minus repairs. You got to know how to
Hmm.
underwrite deals. You're buying a business. It's a lot more complicated. So let's go out there and get educated. I can't remember exactly how we got connected with RE Mentor, but RE Mentor was obviously one of the bigger shops there and bigger educators. We went out to Boston, learned everything there needed to be. We went all in. We paid for the education, got a coach within RE Mentor, and then once we finished, we had a program gave us a coach, and we were able to ask them questions, get feedback from them, guide us, and then ultimately we ended up doing our first deal with somebody that we met at RE Mentor, and it was at the sponsorship event. It was another sponsor that was there. We connected with them, took their criteria, and started going to work. So no, previously to RE Mentor, we didn't have any other mentors. I think we had gone to a couple multifamily networking events and stuff, and that was cool. It exposed us a little bit as to what it was all about, but it's still hard to learn the business until you sit down and just not necessarily cram it in, but say, all right, well, I'm going want to learn this from an expert and figure it out. Number one step, man, is always get educated. RE Mentor was a place for us, coincidentally, because you guys just acquired it. But that's where we
Mm-hmm.
started. And I think it was great. Looking back today, thinking, and actually it was funny, we were at, it wasn't at the initial one, but we were at RE Mentor, like a secondary RE Mentor event. I think it was the Ultimate Partnering event. And we had just closed our first deal. And it was 37 units. And I was like, everyone was congratulating us. I was like, yeah, that's great, man, but I want more. So from there, we started growing.
Yeah, you're only as smart as the people around you, right?
Yeah.
Tim says it all the time, especially about capital raising, but even just doing deals. Like, yeah, these days you have YouTube and stuff, but at the same time, you can't ask those guys on YouTube questions. So you
Yeah,
need
yeah.
a support system. It's very tough to do on your own. And there's people that have done it, usually the outliers, right? And so having that support system, it can go a long way. Just asking one question that might make or break a deal, right? Oh, I didn't know I should do that instead. So I'm glad you touched on that for sure. For your
Yeah.
first capital raise you guys did, oh, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, having
Yeah.
that sponsor or that coach that we had was everything, right? Like when we got that first deal under contract, we called the coach and they walked the deal with us. We did our initial like walkthrough with them, which helped big time because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were looking at and what to look for. And sure, we had experience in the single family space and we had a construction company and stuff like that, but it was still a different ballgame. I don't know. I just recently had my second child, and this second time around, it's been so much easier, right, than the first time. The first time, you don't know what the hell you're doing. I couldn't even handle a baby. Experience trumps everything, and there's nothing like having that support system where you can just go out there and feel confident about making your decisions because you have somebody there backing you or watching you that you don't make mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the story. I believe I remember you told the story at the capital raising summit. Maybe it was you or George on stage when you guys were speaking on stage about syndication, getting the PSA and everything. It's all like hard work, and raising the money is really hard work, but you don't really know how hard it's like having a kid, right? Your deal is like your child. You don't really know until you
Yeah,
close on it how hard it's
yeah.
going to be.
Brains and
And I,
responsibility. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, I remember you guys telling that story because I've used it a couple times when I talked to them. Like, hey, sometimes you don't really know. Yeah, awesome. Okay, and so obviously you guys got to raise money for these deals. So your first capital raise you guys did, let's say maybe not the single family stuff, but more once you got into syndication, your first couple of capital raises, what kind of challenges did you guys face, and how did you overcome them? Since obviously raising money then is a lot different than it is now.
Yeah. I think so. When we first started, right, we didn't really have any investors, right? So we did have a single family list, right? And for a lot of those that are transitioning over to single family, I'm sure you have some type of a list, right? So we used that list to start. And we had built trust over the years because we have been doing single family for a long time, and we had built trust with our investor base, selling good wholesale deals, etc. So when we had an opportunity, that first deal in Temple, Texas, sponsor didn't really require that we raise a ton of equity, but they wanted us to bring in something. I think originally they wanted us to bring in like $1 million. And then when we put out the opportunity to the list, ultimately we were able to raise $600,000. But I think the most challenging part about it is knowing how to answer people's objections, right? Especially when you're in the beginning. You don't really know. You may still be learning about IRR and average annual return, and especially if you're talking with an engineer, they can spin circles around you with the
Oh yeah.
underwriting. So I think that was challenging for us in the beginning. And then really, I think having the confidence, right? Like it's your first deal. You don't really know, right? You feel confident because you have your coaches. You like we just talked about. You haven't been there before, so you're trying to overcome that hurdle. But look, we didn't know that we were going to raise $600,000. I think it was like, all right, let's try to raise $1 million. But I think we were optimistic about it. But I think so. We did fall short of our goal. Right. And we were able to adjust within the partnership to be able to account for that 600 grand that we brought in. But ultimately, we felt pretty accomplished. We're like, hell, this is our first multifamily deal, 500 grand. Or sorry, $600,000 is pretty decent. And now that I think about it, on the other side, right, now that I have experience, when we co-GP with people, we say, hey, look, if you can bring at least 500 grand, you can have part of the general partnership, right? So we were already hitting the levels of what an experienced operator looks for in a co-general partner. So we thought that was pretty good. So I think that was really, and that's the sole thing that we did, right? We just marketed to our list, and now I'm thinking of some more challenges like our presentations, right? Like our PowerPoint presentations, they weren't very great. Now they're a lot better,
Yeah.
because you're doing it for the first time, right? And like our sponsor wasn't going to present to our list. It was our responsibility to present to our list. We had to present as best as we could. And if our investors had additional questions, then we would loop in our sponsor and say, hey, can you answer these questions? Because we don't know. And that's okay, right? You can tell your investors like, hey, look, this is our first multifamily deal. We're partnering with X amount of experience. I don't know the answer to that question. Tim can get you that answer, whoever the sponsor is, right? So that's what we did. So So it was a combination of just being new to it and then not being familiar. And now our PowerPoints and our presentations are way better than they were back then. And just having the knowledge and confidence to be able to answer the questions that some investors would
Mhm.
ask, just in general.
Yeah, I'm sure the pitch deck has come quite a long way. I'm pretty
Yeah.
confident of that. So now you look at a pitch deck, even from a big company 10 years ago, it's crazy how much different they look
Yeah.
because they're all fancy now with AI and everything. But you hit on a couple of really important things. First off, you fell short. And it's something that everyone, like I tell people, I'm like, hey, you're going to go try to raise capital. You're going to fail at least once. It's part of the learning experience. If you have to go raise 1 million, you still raise $600,000. That's not for nothing. But now you learn from it, and then the next time, and the next time, like even the experienced capital raisers on this call, they've all had a raise that they fell short of. Which is kind of
Yeah.